rises high and bright. You wield your fork like a knight in meaty fight. The grill becomes your battlefield, flames ablaze. And the steak, oh the steak, it's your trophy, your praise. Ooh yeah. You'll be your meat lover through and through. You crave that sizzling flavor. It's true. With your hair and your beard so wild, you're the steak loving heartthrob of the Twin Street.
The following film is presented in its complete theatrical version. It was rated R by the MPAA and may not be appropriate for children under 17. It is rated TV MA LSV and contains strong language, sexual situations, violence, and nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion advised.
I'm so smart, 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 I'm so smart.
Yo, check it out, Vanilla Thunder in the house. Dustin, ready for bed, button full of bars flowing from its head, got hair flowing and long. He's dropping jokes and songs of bombs.
Yes, it is I, Ubi, your techno metronome. How you doing? It is Tuesday night. I am Ubi. It is time for another Tech Talk Tuesday. See, Shanty, I wore the hat for you again. All right, let's get that off because I cannot wear the headphones with the hat at the same time. That has made my hair look gorgeous too, hasn't it? Ah, there we go. How's everybody doing this evening? We've had a very interesting evening myself. We had Ubi's Tech Talk live on a one-on-one just a few moments ago, as we have helped all of our good buddies, Ted, get his stream set up, hopefully working correctly. Don't forget, we will all be joining Ted over on his live afterwards. There is a link to it. Go ahead and get that open and ready to go on another tab as well. Who do we have in the house tonight? We got David, we have Shanty, we have Jay Guitars, we have Dwight, and we have Brian, which is good to see. So, yes, tonight's topic is about routing, specifically routing your audio to various places, which is, oddly enough, exactly what Ted and I just did moments ago, getting his laptop set up. He's got a laptop and an interface. Basically, we just went from scratch and got him set up. So under Mac, it's actually quite easy, as Brian, if you're in the Searching for Tone Discord had showed with a screenshot earlier last week. So for Mac, you can just use the direct sound. Devices pop up, and you just have access to them anywhere that you are in there, because they in order for them to work on Mac, they have to work with direct sound, which is basically the equivalent of PC's ASIO environment, ASIO environment. And so because of that, it's a little easier on Mac because they all just show up correctly, and you can create virtual mics, which is basically just a chain of various items together into one input, and that input shows up in your system, and you can route it to whatever system that you want to go to. So if you're on a Mac, there's no mystical, crazy thing that you have to do for a setup on that. PC, on the other hand, PC is a completely different topic. So what I do for PC, I actually use Voicemeeter for my routing. So the way that mine works, I'm over here underneath my own little thing in the corner down here. I am here, I swear it. Does this still work? This does not work. I have to do it manually. Hang on just a moment. Oops, if I grab the right one. That one. Over on the other side. Now you can actually see me. Okay. So, hey, BBM. Hey, Brant. How you doing, both of you? So, as I said, under Mac, the routing is usually pretty simple because direct sound allows you to create, like I said, you can create those virtual microphones, which allow you to mix and match which items you want together into a single output, and you can use that output in something like OBS or anything along those lines. Under Windows, though, it's a little bit more involved, actually, specifically as Ted and I just set up. So for my system, and possibly for yours as well, what you might be looking at is here's the biggest problem under Windows. So in order for us to get a low latency audio device to work under Windows, we have to have a special driver type, which is ASIO. If you want to know what that stands for, that's what Google is for. I'm not here to teach you what that particular acronym stands for. What you do need to know is it is a low latency audio driver system. And if you don't use ASIO, especially for things like instruments, like guitars, you're singing, those sort of things, you're going to introduce latency that is far enough that your ear is going to be able to pick it up, and it's going to drive you absolutely nuts. If you have ever tried to plug your guitar directly into like a microphone port on your computer and hear what it sounds like, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So what you'll need to do is pray that whichever interface you have comes with a Windows ASIO driver. If it does, your life is a lot more simple. If you have a interface that has an ASIO driver, it will show up in anything that is looking to use an ASIO driver. For example, Cakewalk or Reaper or anything along those lines, like a Cannibal Light, like I use for my live rig. These things will be looking for an ASIO device. And ASIO does both input and output. So that also means that whatever device that you're using, whatever you attach that ASIO device on, it gets locked to that program. So, for example, if you have your ASIO running in Tone, how you doing? Brent, yes, yeah, I actually had the hat on. You missed it at the very beginning. GMG, how you doing, big guy? So an ASIO driver can only be locked to one piece of software running on your computer. So, for example, if you're using it directly into your DAW or into something like Cannibal Light, it will lock it for both input and for output. This may not be a problem if you're doing something simple like recording. For example, that's not a big... Sam Broadcaster used ASIO, so that's why you're able to follow this, Shanty. So if you're like recording, it's not such a big deal because you're not trying to bring something, you're not trying to bring your like guitar into your software, remix it, and then send it out to another piece of software. You're literally living just in that one ecosystem. But if you're needing to do something like this where we're live streaming, I need to take my guitar, I need to run that into the interface, and then from that interface, it needs to run into something that actually is my guitar rig, and then from there it also has to run back out to my software that I'm broadcasting from, in this case OBS. How you doing, Steve? It's good to see you. So for me, the way I have mine set up is that I have it, Voicemeeter is an intermediary. What Voicemeeter is on Windows is very similar to what Direct Sound is on Macintosh. Direct Sound is actually part of Mac, and Voicemeeter is a separate program. They're not exactly identical, but they fulfill the same roles there. Voicemeeter, you can really kind of think of it as a giant software mixing board is what it is. And it allows you to take multiple inputs and run them through multiple output buses so that we can send audio to certain places that we want to see it or we don't want to see it. The first key step is getting your interface into Voicemeeter. Well, the first key step, obviously, is installing and getting Voicemeeter running. The second thing that you want to do is to get your interface into it. There's a bunch of different ways to do that. Hey, Chris. Hey, RJ. Hey, Keith. And it's going to really depend on whether your interface came with a ASIO driver or not. If your interface came with an ASIO driver, what you want to do is you want to take your hardware output up here, and for A1, you want to select that ASIO. If you do that, in this case, my FiFi did not come with an ASIO driver, so I have a separate ASIO driver installed on my computer. There are ones that if your particular component didn't come with a driver, you can use ASIO for all, or in my case, I'm using Flex ASIO. So if I you absolutely will lose the audio because I'm making changes to my system that will break the audio on the system. So that makes it significantly more difficult. But so if you set the ASIO driver as your A1 in there, like I just did there, under the system settings over here, maybe kind of hard to see on the screen there. I need to come up with a way to be able to zoom in. I know how to zoom in. We will just force it to zoom in. Where is my unlock preview? I need that one. So under this section in the middle here, the AIO, the out A1 main device, if you have an ASIO device selected, there will be a bunch of inputs that will pop up under here, and that allows you to take any of the ASIO devices that are part of that that particular ASIO device. So ASIO actually runs multiple channels. So, like for example, if you have a interface, it might have a microphone on channels 1 and 2, or the input number 1 is on channels 1 and 2. That's channel 1 is left, channel 2 is right. Channel 3 is left for input number 2, channel 4 is right for input number 2, and so on and so forth. You'll have a section down here which allows you to map those channels into these individual lanes out here on the side. If that is your case, it's super easy for you to do, because once you've got that set up, your devices down in here will match what's on your interface, and these will control your interface. Now, for me, as I said, I have the Fi-Fine, and it does not have an ASIO driver. So because of that, what I have to do is I have to take the input from it and put it onto one of these lanes manually. Now, the problem with that is that my input is a microphone and a guitar. So you'll notice that when I talk, this meter on the left is bouncing way up and high. That's because my microphone is coming in on the left channel for this input. The one that's just kind of down here dancing a jig a little bit is my guitar, which I do not currently have plugged in. However, if I pick up the cable and I mess with it, you see how it jumped up? That's because it's giving that zzz, zzz, zzz sound. I'm sure you guys may actually would actually hear it if I had it all turned up, but I do not. So we now have a brand new problem in that my guitar and my microphone are on the same cable here. So if I bring up something like Cannibal Light, which is what we're using for our chain, our guitar chain, I probably should actually plug that guitar in so we can actually hear a guitar. You can tell Ubi is super on top of everything today. We'll grab the T's because it's the closest to us. But we all heard that loud pop there. So I have this already set up properly. That is loud. Ubi has that turned way up. I have blown everybody's eardrums out. You're welcome. So to answer your question, Keith, yes. I do record mono for my tracks. But that's a personal preference. If you can get stereo in, there's no reason not to. So, as I said, I've got the microphone in here. Oh no, I am so sorry. I am so sorry to have woken M up there. So let's say that I'm setting this up for the first time. And my direct input is here. And when we first come in here, there will be nothing in this. Probably should, Chanty. You probably should go to bed. It's like 3 a.m. there. So if I was to go in here, and remember, in voice meter, so first things first, under the audio engine, I've selected voice meter's ASIO. So voice meter itself can be an ASIO device, which is why I would still route my ASIO into voice meter here, because if I was capturing my direct input from my ASIO, I still want to be able to split that off and to go to different places. And remember, if I was to send that ASIO into Cannibal Light, an ASIO can only be used in one software at a time. So I couldn't also use it in OBS, for example. So anyways, if that was the case, I would route it a different way. So what I've done is I've told it, for my driver, for my sound here in Cannibal Light, I want you to go out there and grab the ASIO device that is voice meter. So voice meter itself is acting like an ASIO. Now, when you look over here, I have the ASIO running into, I have my audio interface running into the fourth lane over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is number 4 here. And each lane has 2 channels, a left and a right. But the important thing is, I know my input, I have assigned it to lane number 4. So if I go in here and open up my settings and go to my audio ports, and I assigned this, my left port here. Let's say I assigned it to input number 4 left. And on my right port here, I assigned it to input number 4 right. You would think that would be normally how you would want to set it up because you want the left and right channel. Well, we've got a problem with that. You can now hear my voice because my mic is on the left channel. So because of that, instead of sending left and right, I send both rights into it. And now you no longer hear my voice, but you hear the guitar. Voice meter, so in this particular case, if you only ever planned on recording, so you never want to send your guitar through anything other than your DAW. You do not need a separate program like Voice Meter. You can just take the ASIO, send it straight into your DAW, record there, you're just fine. If you ever want to send your guitar to anything else, you will need something like that so that you can route it to other places. Everything as far as Windows audio, especially low latency Windows audio, is a pain in the ASIO. Absolutely. So that is why I deal with that. So here is another fatal flaw in ASIO. My output from Cannibal has to go back onto whatever ASIO device I had. So here is a minor problem you may have if you run your DAW, if you run your interface directly into a DAW or something along those lines. Your output from whatever that is, your DAW, whether it's Cakewalk, Reaper, Ableton, whatever the heck you want to use, will have to go back out on whatever ASIO driver it was. So if your interface has an ASIO driver and you use that directly into your DAW has to send it back to your interface. If your interface is not designed to handle a loopback, you'll never be able to hear your DAW. So you might still need to use something else so that you can actually hear what's going on. In this case, since we are using Voice Meter, we're going back into Voice Meter again. So what I have set up for the output, so my speakers out, they actually go out to inputs number 6 and 7 in Voice Meter. And the reason for that is that I have them going into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have it going into this lane and 7 going into this lane. The reason for that is this lane here, 6, I have going into my headphones so I can hear what's going on. I also have it going into this lane because this lane I have routed out on this line here, which is B3. I have that being picked up by OBS. So not only can I hear my guitar, but you can hear it as well. And it would be impossible for me to do that multiple routing with just the ASIO itself unless that ASIO driver allowed me to go into it and manually pick where the physical hardwares is going to, which is why for under Windows, I use Voice Meter to play the exact same role that your direct sound under Mac does. Under Linux, good luck. I have not delved deeply into Linux sound drivers simply because it varies so much between distro to distro that I haven't opened that can of worms up. I will at some point because I need to get that set up. So there we go. That is the basic ins and outs, no pun intended, of audio routing for both Windows and Mac. For Mac, It's simple. You just set it all up in direct sound. You don't have to deal with any of these driver issues. Everything pops up nice and neat. Even with this interface, you would see mic, you would see guitar or instrument. You'd put them wherever you want to. Under Windows, you would set up something like Voicemeeter here, which is one of the reasons why, for me, it's a little easier to be able to deal with people myself, for me to be the one that actually sets things up for people, which is why, I have the that whole JRig thing. Again, this is not turned into a spiel me selling the JRig. This is an explanation as to why it's there. This is the complicated level of getting the setup exactly the way my setup is. That buffer circle is actually Restream. Restream is doing that. It is an issue that I might be dropping Restream soon because I'm not really getting any activity on the second streams anyways. So I might be streaming from OBS directly to YouTube and dropping Restream, and we'll see that that little buffering circle go away. I saw it too on my screen. So there we go. That was super complicated, and I guarantee everybody that is here now feels like they know less than they did before. But that is that's the best explanation I can give you for audio routing that I'm able to give you in a live stream setting like this. So we will throw it open to questions. Does anybody have any other questions that that you want, and not necessarily even for this? This is completely open question and answer for the next 7 minutes. You know what you don't know, which is a start. That is actually one of the beginnings of wisdom, is knowing what you don't know. Depends on the Mac. Some Macs you can upgrade RAM on, some you can't. But you do bring up a good point. Macs are generally more expensive. And there is not the same amount of options that I have for running a live rig on a Mac than you do on Windows. That is another thing that is slowing down. So yeah, Chris, that is actually exactly why we had Voicemeeter up there. And that is one of the things I explained in there. So when you're using your direct interface, in order if you're using it in a manner where you want to be able to hear it yourself and as close to real time as possible, so that you can actually, like, for example, play your guitar and hear exactly what you've got going on, you have two options. A, you plug directly into your interface's headphone port and just hear the raw interface. Or B, you will need to have a way to route your sound to other places other than just in your DAW. So if you want to, like, for example, when I bring Cakewalk up, so that in order for you to hear it, instead of running my interface directly into Cakewalk, which locks up the driver for the interface, and makes it where the DAW can only send back to the interface, which is, again, that's a limitation of ASIO. What I do is I set it up so that I'm actually running my interface into Voicemeeter, and then I run from Voicemeeter into my DAW or into Cannibal or anything like that, and let it process the guitar, and then that software has to return back to whatever it's connected to. But in this case, it's Voicemeeter, where in Voicemeter I can redirect. I can tell it, hey, I want you to be on lane 7, and lane 7, I want that to go out on this lane, which I have going into OBS, or to this lane, which is going to my headphones, or whatnot. So that is where the complexity is for there. So, and you absolutely could do that, Keith. So if it's just running your interface like a sound card, then you're plugged back into it. Some interfaces do have what's called a loop back. So let's say that you did connect your interface via ASIO into, say, like Reaper or Cakewalk or, like I said, anything else out there, it sends it back on the device that it's pulling from. And if your interface does a loop back, then in your headphones, you're going to hear what's coming back. So you very well could be set up properly for that, where you can hear it coming back from, a return from what the DAW sounds like. But the problem with that is you can't send that over to another piece of software. So from my voice meter into Cannibal, back into my headphones, I get about anywhere between 8 to 10 milliseconds, which is so low I can't really detect it. Once you start getting over 10, that's when you no longer sounds real time for you. Human ear can usually put up to about 15 or 20 milliseconds. After that point, it's that point where you have that stereo problem. So my setup with this, which is the lowest end of good interface you're going to find, is right at that 10 milliseconds. Slightly, and really, it depends on how many effects I run as to how bad it is. If I'm running straight into just like only into THU, it's actually about 5 milliseconds. It's super, super light. But the round trip, once I add all the stuff that I use to make my personal tone, it's about 8 to 10. It sounds close enough to real time that it sounds great for me. And then, of course, the latency going out to you guys on OBS, that doesn't matter, because you're not being thrown off on the sound. You're just hearing the sound. So if it was a 20-second, 30-second, 40-second, millisecond delay, you wouldn't know the difference, because you really can't. I mean, when I strum, it's close enough to what you hear that, it looks like it's a real time for you. In reality, my return trip to OBS is about 15 to 20. I have a little bit of a delay set up automatically to try to sync up my video with that. Great questions, all of these. Anybody have any others? All right, well, this will be up and available for review, because all mine are anyway. And at some point in time, probably, I think I'll do monthly. I'll do a recap where I pull them all down, cut them all up, and put them out there in a video format to make it a little easier for people to find things with chapters and the whole 9 yards. So I appreciate everybody popping in and letting me talk your ear off about tech stuff. So there's the link for Ted's chat. Let's all jump over there. Let's give some love to our man Ted. He's in theory going to be using the new setup that he and I just set up tonight. Hopefully it'll all work great. If not, I'm on hand in chat to give him tech support. You guys can see what that's like. And once again, thank you very much for being on my guitar journey. Let me be a part of yours. Let's all go and give Ted some love. Appreciate everybody who was here tonight, guys.